Thank you. And thanks for everyone who showed up this early on Sunday. I'm amazed we got this many of you. So first of all, apologies for rescheduling from yesterday. We were originally going to demonstrate computer-controlled swarming today, and that did not work out on this timeline. So we had to basically redo the presentation. We are going to be flying drones, and in fact, you all can fly drones with us if you install the application known as Free Flight Mini. So we'll do that at the end of the talk. The talk will be about 30 to 40 minutes. We'll introduce the project. We'll show some clips of what we've done elsewhere, what others have done elsewhere. And then at the end we can do Q&A and we can fly some drones. And also, just as some of you perhaps already yesterday flew some drones, we will be around all day today in the Congress to give flying lessons to anybody who wants to fly drones. We have about 18 drones with us at the Congress, and 15 are flight worthy. We've broken a few props and things. And we'll be flying them all day outside of La Fabrica and also next to the co-working space. So I am Arto Bendiken, and this is my colleague.
My name is Dan. Good morning.
And we are presenting our project Consensus Reality. We are a team of 6 people, 5 of whom are here today. Oops, looks like we lost the input signal. Guess we should connect things up a bit better.
In the meantime, guys, please make sure that all the lights to all the drones are turned off, otherwise the battery will go very quickly dead, and we won't have that nice crowdsourced swarm takeoff that we want to make up with for you.
All right, so Consensus Reality, or short just Con-Reality, is game platform that we're developing. So it's a software and hardware platform for making games. But these games are not like most games you know. These are games in the real world. So one of the things that I personally, my family noticed, and I'm sure many of you who have children, or perhaps nephews, nieces, or perhaps yourself have noticed, is that a lot of people are being drawn into virtual worlds, into pocket universes. Hundreds of millions of us are choosing to not participate in reality, are choosing to play video games and escape reality. And it's easy to see why. As Frank said in his talk yesterday, reality is boring. Reality is broken. And the statistics are quite staggering. In the US alone, about 3 billion hours of productivity, for better term, are being lost every week to escapist fantasy. So these are hours spent in virtual worlds instead of the real world. Now, of course, it's not exactly a loss from an individual point of view. After all, these individuals prefer the virtual world to the real world, so they presumably find some happiness and joy in these games. But from a societal point of view, it's quite a staggering amount of hours lost. And there's a great book about this called Reality is Broken, about 5 years ago by Jane McGonigal. I highly recommend it to anybody who might be interested in this issue. Oops. Let's see, now we have some issue here. Okay, so one of the things we'll talk about today is the dichotomy between VR and AR. You are, of course, all familiar with these terms, virtual reality, augmented reality. On the left side, you see Johnny Mnemonic, the cyberpunk vision from 20 years ago. It's an iconic silver screen feature of ideas that were, I'm sure, are familiar to many of you. Virtual reality, though, exactly represents the culmination of video games, the perfection of video games, the escape from reality, the escape from, well, what matters, you might say. We are hugely, as a project, we are hugely interested and invested in augmented reality. And this is a developing area, but both VR and AR basically arrived this year. This year you have headsets available commercially, headsets you can buy for Christmas that are at sub-1,000 price points, for top end 2,000, 3,000. And the vision from 20 years ago is finally here for virtual reality. So this means that the problem we have with video games sucking you away from reality is only about to get worse.
Therefore, that's the main reason why we're focusing on the right side with the nice billionaire and the helmet wizard. AR, the main difference between VR and AR is that VR closes you inwards, and AR helps you interact with all the people around you in a much more interesting manner. It adds the digital layer to the reality. Therefore we say, fuck VR. Millions of people are spending their lives. By the way, you might seen many more pictures like these floating around the web with all the dystopian cyberpunk visions, people being drawn into universes, into the pocket universes, and basically shutting themselves in from their tribe and from all that makes us human, the social contact, the next slide, probably.
Yeah. So this has even been proposed as an explanation for the Fermi paradox. I'm sure the Fermi paradox is familiar to many of you, but to recap briefly, it's the question of, given everything we know about the cosmos, the staggering number of stars on staggering number of galaxies, the question is, where the fuck are they? And this question is a long-standing one, a difficult one. It's got many proposed answers. Here's one that stuck with me from a decade ago, that perhaps, just perhaps, it might be the case that eventually advanced civilizations withdraw from reality, and hence there's nothing for us to detect. They'll presumably burn out with their star, or maybe they survive that. So we are not huge fans of VR, but we do draw inspiration from cyberpunk culture, and important part of cyberpunk culture are cyberpunk games. Oops, this seems to have some issues. Okay. So cyberpunk, again, there's considerable overlap between cyberpunk, cypherpunk, crypto-anarchism, so familiar, but if not, there's a definition here. Basically, the evil corporate state and lots of rain. This is William Gibson, this is Neil Stephenson, this is Akira, this is Ghost in the Shell, this is Blade Runner. And an important part of that culture are the games.
We draw heavy inspiration from titles you might be familiar with. Are there any gamers in the house? Any particular? Nice one. Well, all the criminals with no girlfriends, right? Do you guys know any of these titles? These are basically the staples of the cyberpunk genre in our generation, and but this is just the last iteration of at this point, hundreds of years, the question that man has asked was infatuated with: man versus machine. The first occurrence was when it basically started was on the onset of Industrial Revolution in 18th century, where the machine known as Mechanical Turk was developed. Are you familiar with the concept, Mechanical Turk? Wolfgang von Kempelen. And And it wasn't even machine at the time. It was basically fake. It was basically fake machine with the guy operating the chess moves underneath. So the underlying incentive to have battles with machines were taking place before they actually could take place. Next slide. And this is a nice screenshot from the third game. It's the latest installment of Deus Ex. It just came out 2 months ago. And funny enough, this is actually Praha 2029. And
Yes.
I assume it's what's happening in the picture. There's probably someone, nice police officer is asking for papers in front of Paralelní police. There's toilets for normal people and for augmented people. Well, they look more nice, so I guess that's just the part which devolves from reality. And this is a screenshot, the actual screenshot from the game, and part of the visual that we are trying to achieve, namely the battle and physical space where with humans on one side and robots or the machine and evil AIs on the other.
Yeah, I think Terminator, think Judgment Day, these are the kind of games we want to enable. And of course it's not just man-machine, it's also man-machine versus man-machine. But this is what we would like to do in the real world. And that brings us to live action games, which is what we're all about. Let's see, there's a few categories of live action games that you guys may know. There's paintball, airsoft, laser tag that we are mostly interested in. Recently, of course, you all heard about Pokemon Go and you may have played Ingress. Here's something interesting. This is an airsoft game. This is not an actual military operation. It's an airsoft game.
Any of you guys have been to an airsoft on paintball guide before? Yeah, so
Okay.
did it look something like this? This is actually a very high level airsoft game, and as you can see, there are people with money to blow, and well, basically decided if you can afford a fucking tank in the battle with plastic pellets, why not go with drones as well?
Yeah, the solution to anything, to make anything more interesting, just add drones.
By the way, that's a real life picture. No Photoshop was harmed during making of this.
So this is something like what we want to do. So we're at a very early stage. We're playing with toy drones the size of nothing, but this is sort of where we are heading. And we have a few brief clips to show what has been done done in this space today.
As you can see in the video, already someone came up with a crazy idea to load a hexacopter with a paintball gun. If any of you were into the paintball game, have you been ever shot with a paintball pellet? You know how it hurts? You basically have the idea. Well,
how about a machine gun?
How about a machine gun? Machine gunning you from 30 feet. Well, you have nowhere to run. And he doesn't care. He will shut your fucking car. There he goes. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Just to put things in perspective, a drone like this is only a few thousand euros. These are not hugely expensive things.
But thankfully, don't be afraid yet. The uprising of the machines is still far away because they do this. Yet.
There's a few technical issues to work out before Skynet takes over. And so that gives a flavor of things we are aiming for. Perhaps just for comic relief, we can show the next level, which I believe some of you have probably seen before.
This is the most famous fake US Russian.
A YouTube personality with many interesting things. So you can see these are not plastic pellets.
This is basically,
You get the idea.
this is basically taking the things to extreme we don't want to go. We don't want to, we don't have that kind of budget either.
Not to belabor the point. And so one of the things that we mentioned in the beginning is augmented reality. We're really all about it. This is the year it's arrived. You can buy the HoloLens from Microsoft for $3,000. That's the high-end gear. You may have seen some of the awesome videos. If you played Pokemon Go, you probably played it through smartphone interface. That was an extremely primitive form of AR.
And
Here's
this is
the next level.
Here's the next level, played with the Microsoft HoloLens. The graphics still sucks, doesn't it?
But so augmented reality games are just beginning to emerge. Let's skip this one. I think we're a bit short on time on this segment. You may have seen at TED Talks this year, a company called Meta presenting. I think we're going to skip the AR segment just to save on time a little bit, but you can easily find this video. It's quite interesting, demonstrates where AR is right now, and where the headsets you can buy for not too much. So when we talk about augmented reality and actually the very name consensus reality is a pun on a number of levels. I'm not going to explain all of that, but one way to think about the world once you have something like, let's say, Google Glass as your wearable, something you wear every day, is that you can think of reality as overlays. There's physical reality. Physical reality is a bitch. You kick a rock, it kicks you back. You jump off a bridge, you drop like a rock. There's social reality. Now, people at this conference are perhaps less affected by social reality than, let's say, the human baseline. But nonetheless, we all are. We live in a imaginary reality tied by social norms, social conventions. This is something that most people can't see past. I think many people here have seen past the Matrix. Now, consensus reality might be considered, once you have something like augmented reality, might be considered the common human knowledge base. Something like, if you imagine you have Google Maps. A few years back, you could pull up a Wikipedia overlay on it. I don't know why they removed it. It was quite useful. So that would tell you historic landmarks near you and so on. That would be an example of, Wikipedia is not perfect, but it's what we have. And that would be an example of consensus knowledge. Encyclopedic knowledge about the world that we kind of agree on. And then, of course, you can have your own individual universe, your own personal reality, your own personal private overlay pulled on top. So I can see, for instance, that reputation score floating above Frank's head. And this tells me that I trust this person completely. And I can see my past transaction history with others. And maybe I don't, they're not all green. So these are the levels of reality that you can start utilizing once you have augmented reality. And we are particularly interested in this middle one. You can layer this cake many ways. It's not a definite final picture. So to get to what consensus reality is about, it's tactical software. So we have for some time now, the last couple of decades, open source has taken over the world. We have everything open source now. You have even the boring things, such as accounting software, ERP, point of sale systems. Everything is open source. Whatever you want is open source. But there's one big gap. If you were to draw out a map of the open source universe versus all software that exists, there's one big gap, and I would call that tactical software. So tactical software would be things that, well, in fact, enable the kind of games that we are interested in, but also you might consider that it's software that the state has and we don't. So there might be things like there isn't an open source targeting system out there. I think there should be. Right now you can get any number of physics or game engines, but you have to choose between ridiculous tuned game mechanics, or you have to choose between extremely accurate molecular simulation. You have nothing in between, and that's one of the things we're aiming to change, to have a physics engine that's capable of being utilized in the real world for real world games that we care about. So this is actually the point of Conreality. It's not really about drones, it's not really about any particular hardware, it's about enabling capabilities, tactical capabilities in the real world. And this is what we are working towards. So for instance, once upon a time I studied physics to learn about terminal ballistics. Took a while to get to terminal ballistics, but never mind. That is what enables the creation of something that will put a pellet on target in a game such as the ones we're creating. And just to demonstrate briefly how much tactical software makes a difference.
What we've seen, it's open source rifle. This is not your grandfather's rifle. It has a Linux proprietary targeting system. It's made by Tracking Point, company in Texas. And as you can see, Dink, 12-year-olds. It makes pretty decent snipers out of 3-year-olds.
So here when you press the trigger, it doesn't actually fire, it just locks onto a target. And then the rifle will automatically fire when it is certain it will hit the target. Or reasonably certain, there's never certainty. And these are the kind of things I think would be nice to see as open source. For one thing, they enable very interesting games. I think that probably demonstrates the point. And so then to close up, the project is not unprecedented. There are at least these 3 existing robotics frameworks. So a lot of this is about robotics. Drones are a subset of robotics. And these 3 frameworks are further along than we are, but they don't have any particular point to them. They seek to be all things to all people. We are specifically interested in enabling milsim, military simulation games in the real world, augmented reality games. And that means that we are almost the first in this category. There's only basically this example that we know of.
As you can see, there's already people working on something similar what we want to achieve. This is actually a championship sponsored by DJI, which is one of the biggest drone manufacturers from China, and this is shot roughly 1 or 2 months ago. So this is all fairly new and all rapidly evolving. And as you can see, the Chinese basically jumped on the opportunity and already started going further in this system.
Oops. So that would be an example of a kids game that you could do with something like our system in perhaps half a year's time. We are currently working on, so here we have commercial drones. These are available actually quite cheaply. I recommend these as Christmas gifts. Let's get everybody into drones. So these things cost about $90, 90 euros. You can buy them from Amazon, you can buy them anywhere. We have some other things we can demonstrate in a bit. But we are beginning to build our own drones. We're beginning to build our own concepts. And this is because of the easy accessibility to 3D printing, to computer-aided design enabled, for instance, by online services such as Vectory. So we are beginning to put together our own concept vehicles. We have with us that we can show you guys afterwards. We have a laser turret concept. We have a first Scout car Mark 1, and we have a couple of assault drones of different kinds. We have this is all very much wires sticking out at this point, but and actually we burned one of the engines just the other day accidentally, so this one won't fly just now. But we have a couple of bigger ones that we can let you guys fly outside. The point is to get away from these toys, although there are nice demo prop. This is our team. 5 of us are here. Gogulski couldn't attend. Many of you probably know Gogulski. And this is what we do. We are based in Berlin and Bratislava. In Bratislava we do hackathons about once a month, maybe once every couple of months. Sometimes they turn into drinkathons, but it's another matter. That's our patron saint, Charlie, Mike's cat. And the next hackathon will take place in October. We haven't set the date yet, but in case any of you might be interested, please talk to us. The only thing I'm going to mention about technology is this. This stuff requires a broad and deep, much broader and much deeper set of skills than your average software development project. This is quite challenging. If you guys happen to know what most of these terms mean, I want to talk to you. You would probably make a good contributor to the project, and you would probably immensely enjoy the work. So what we are looking for here is people who see the potential, and they want to work on something tangible, something that isn't just abstract software running inside some computer screen or server off on another continent. Something that you can actually touch, something that makes a difference, and actually hugely challenging compared to almost any project you could tackle. And it's hugely fun. So come talk to us. We'll be around for the rest of the day, a little bit of tomorrow. And if you want to contribute, we definitely want to talk to you. And so let's get to the flying of the drones, which I imagine most of you heard this was about.
Okay guys, everyone who's managed so far to connect to the drone, raise your hand so we have at least some. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so roughly 7. Okay, so we'll try to do a countdown, and okay, so let's try to get them in the air one by one.
Do the sweep over.
Okay, next.
Yeah.
Next. Drone pilot number 3 is Lycan. Next.
Yeah, so this, as far as we know, this is the first crowdsourced flying of drones. You can still participate by just installing.
Next. Do we have any more drones left? Next. Come on. Try to bring them up. And turn on the lights. Light them up.
Yeah, the light switch is in the middle of the app.
And now just take the nice pictures.
No.
Any more drones? Any more drone pilots? Oh, the batteries are probably dead. It can take it, don't worry.
You can do better, Phil. Yeah. So we'll take some questions in a couple of minutes, but let's let people have their fun if they have the means. You can still participate by installing from the Play Store. So this is Android, tablet or phone. the app Free Flight Mini, and that will let you take control of one of these drones via Bluetooth, and it's quite easy to fly. Yesterday we had kids as young as 3.5 years old who managed this, so I'm sure you can too. Okay.
After the flying, there will be Q&A.
Yeah, let's give them a couple of minutes to fly. The battery life is anyway only like 7 minutes.
All right, so
And
use it out then.
yeah, and then let's take some questions, and then we can move outside to let people fly outside.
All right. I would like to start with some questions. Should I ask you further first?
Well, you could ask, as you actually asked me a good question earlier. You asked me whether it's open source. So if you just repeat that, I can maybe elaborate briefly that it's actually public domain.
Okay.
We want to make it totally available for everyone.
Okay.
And by the way, these drones are quite safe, these small ones. So if you have children, these small ones won't cut off their fingers or anything like that. Don't worry about it. The range on these are known as Parrot mini drones, and it's a French company making them. The range is about 20 meters with Bluetooth, and that's how your phone is controlling them. We also have some more interesting models, which we can demonstrate outside. Might be a bit constrained to fly here, unless you can manage.
Yeah.
This drone over here is the Parrot Swing. You could also call it the X-Wing. So this is a hybrid quadcopter and plane. It's a vertical takeoff capability, and it can transition into plane mode, at which point it goes very fast indeed. Well, I think we lost the prop on that one. Thankfully we have some spares. All it takes is a lot of super glue and extra propellers, and these things are generally quite unbreakable. Maybe a little duct tape once in a while. So this, we're big fans of this X-Wing drone. It just came out 2 weeks ago. Looks like we have some collaborative chaos going on here. Anarchy in action. Yeah, maybe let's we're running short on time, so we could move on to the Q&A session. You guys can fly this outside in just 10 minutes time.
Okay, so first, thank you for your presentation. That was very interesting, very futuristic for me. I actually heard the first question. Is it open sourced? I heard is it open sourced, and where I can find the source code?
Yes, this is totally open source, and not only open source, it's public domain. We do not place any copyright restrictions. We have a 100% copyright-free code base. Anybody can use this for any purpose, and we don't mind.
Okay, thank you. So, if you have a question, just raise the hand. No one, okay. I have maybe another question. Where you accept to start to sell your product to customers?
Well, we don't actually plan to sell anything. This is an open source project. I'm sure there are tons of commercialization opportunities, spin-off opportunities, but at least for myself, I don't want to get sidetracked on that. We're doing this as an open source project. We won't necessarily have any products as such. We'll have designs people can download, people can make. Maybe we'll get somebody like Seed Studio in China to manufacture this, and people can buy them directly. But it's not really about the profit angle.
Okay, thanks. So, anyone?
Yeah, given the similarities to military technology, do you see any? Do you have any fears of abuse, and do you have an idea how to prevent that?
Well, this would be one of those questions that I'd be really tempted to answer flippant. It's not my department, but I think for this audience it suffices to say that technology is value-free, and you can use it for good and you can use it for evil. We intend to use it for games.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to ask the same question, so I will just add a note. I think that right now the states have a monopoly for power. They already have these technologies, and they are probably much more advanced than what you guys have right now. But as you develop it, you will take the power from them, and it will be more available. And as you said, it can be used for good and evil. But it gives people the power to maybe defend themselves with the technology.
Yeah, I'll take that more as a comment than a question. It's
Yeah, I said it was just a comment.
I wanted to ask if it's principally possible to let these drones fly autonomously by a computer, because I think these little toy drones don't have all the sensors you would probably need to do this.
Correct. So, for instance, these parrot minis, they don't have a usable camera, so you can't really do anything like computer vision. The drones we're building ourselves, they have a computer vision, and we do SLAM to map the environment with LiDAR or with monocular vision. And so these parrots are necessarily limited. They're just toys, but you can of course make them. You can still control them via the computer. You just need to control them via Bluetooth. Now we didn't, for technical reasons, actually manage to get that working reliably for today, but it's quite possible in principle. For the larger drones, we actually control them via Wi-Fi, so that's just sending UDP packets around. It's quite easy.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? If it's not, so...
Over here.
Yeah, sorry.
Is your software developed from scratch or based on something else?
It's mostly from scratch, as in our code base is, as I said, totally copyright free, so we don't copy any code into it. And also we need to learn all of the fundamental technologies ourselves as we go along, so that's one reason to sort of do it. But there's one huge piece of functionality we are importing, and that's the autopilot. There's a project called ArduPilot, which is a fantastic open source